Winslow, if you read the book and get into the book, it shows you every single piece of apparatus they've ever owned. They made, actually they had two Ford trucks that they made into tankers. Then they had a sister reel to this one here. This is a 26. They had a 27 reel that they bought from a farmer, and they took off the back and made a fire truck out of it. So Winslow was always the guys, you know, back in the day that worked at Hollywood, they used their machine shop down at Hollywood and Whitney all the time to build things for the fire department. They built, you know, special, you know, devices to fight fires with, things like that. Now, I don't have a picture in here, but Hollingworth and Whitney and then Scott Paper owned their own fire truck in 1946. American and France, and when they got rid of it, the Waterville guys bought it from them for $1, and they fixed it up and they used it for parades and they used it for muster events. Then they sold it to a gentleman in Bangor, Maine, and it's still up there today in their fire museum. And it says Winslow Fire right on the side of the truck. Even though Winslow never purchased it, it came from Hollingworth and Whitney. Fire alarms. Most of you know, you've seen the boxes on the side and the poles. Before the fire alarms, it was, like I said, it was pretty senseless. You know, you just jump in your, you know, your apparatus, your horse or whatever, the nearest fire station and get people to come fight your fire for you. Then they decided in 1909 to hire Gamewell to come in and put up fire alarm boxes around the town. And those devices were, it was a lot quicker. It came before the telephone, actually. But once the telephone came, it made it a little bit easier to call instead of you know, running down the street to find your nearest pull box to pull it. And it made it a little bit quicker. But that would send off, this didn't happen in Waterville, but it did in Winslow. So if you were a firefighter in Winslow back at this time in 1909, you would have a fire bell in your house. It's just a small little bell somewhere in your house. And if somebody pulled the alarm, the bells at the firehouse would start ringing. The horns on top of the station would start blasting out the number. And then the bell inside your house would start tapping out the number. And you usually had a card similar to this that kind of tells you if box 18 came in, you know you're going to Benton Avenue. So, and they used that all the way up until 1996, but they started taking them out before that because of because of 911. Once 911 come by, these are pretty much obsolete, but they did keep them for the schools. So if a sprinkler system went off at the school, or the fire alarm went off at the school, the fire station would automatically get called because it rings into the station. Yeah. These little devices, I don't know if any of you remember hearing them when they used to blast, and they would blast for curfew at 9 o'clock at night. They would blast the horn twice, you know, and people way out on the outskirts of town that could hear it. Yeah, it was okay, but you lived across the street, it was a little different. You know, that thing starts blasting out the number during 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, kind of jump you right out of your sleep.